Okay, so for those of you who just joined, this is Sarah Jackson, the MiCAFE Network Specialist for Western Michigan, and I will be doing the conference call today for Lindsay. She had a last-minute meeting come up to where she was unavailable to do the conference call, and she asked me if I could fill in her place. So I just want to say thank you for everybody who is on the conference call first and foremost. We really appreciate it. And to get things started, we have Jill Murphy, who is the Executive Director for MAP, on the phone, and she is going to be talking to us about the new Medicare card and the 2018 Medicare Part D plans. So, Jill Murphy, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much. A pleasure to be with all of you this morning. I was asked to talk about the Part D open enrollment that started on the 15th and ends December 7th. So why it's important, and I'm sure you've seen ads by now, or clients have brought letters or packets they've gotten from insurance companies in for you to help them understand. So the reason this is so important every year is because between October 15th and December 7th, people on Medicare have the opportunity to pick their Medicare Part D, that's Dog D, prescription drug plan for the upcoming year, so for 2018. Before we go any further, I want to kind of say the good news is probably most of you are working with low-income people, and they have more than one opportunity if they have the LIS or extra help subsidy from Social Security, or they have Medicaid in any shape or form. They do have the ability to change their drug plan once a month if they want to. But for the general Medicare population, this is their one chance or bite at the apple to get a plan for 2018, and then they will stay in that plan for a whole year. And the plan can change, but they can't. So that's one of those things we call a flaw in the law. The main reason this is important is because I want you to understand how confusing this can be to people. If people have original Medicare and they want just the drug plan, this year there are 24 different prescription drug plans, or PDPs, that they can choose from. And our research says that anybody has more than 8 choices, they don't do anything because they're overwhelmed. The other good news is of these 24 drug plans, 9 of them will have a zero premium if someone has the full LIS or extra help from Social Security. Just to make it a little more confusing for people, we have Medicare Advantage plans, and depending on where you live, the state of Michigan has 42 plans this year. No one will probably have all of them because they're managed care and they have certain regions they cover, but there's quite a number to select from. You may get letters from people about special needs plans. We have 7 of those. Depending on where people live, they have 7 My Health plans, My HealthLink plans. And a lot of people forget that PACE falls into this same kettle of soup. And depending on where you live, there are 20 different PACE plans in Michigan. So now you know why everyone's confused. Not only are the beneficiaries confused, but a lot of times some of us who help people get confused. And that's why MAP is there to help. That's why MAP is there to help the clients and to help you. For the ELM people who are MAP counselors, I've mailed out their 2018 Medicare handbook. If anyone else wants a handbook, they can contact my office. But the number that you need to give the clients if they want help with getting a prescription drug plan is a toll-free number. It's 1-800-803-7174. And that's right on the back of the Medicare and You handbook for people to call for assistance. So all of those calls get tracked to different area agencies on aging or senior centers or wherever our partners have trained counselors to help. So that is kind of a real quick overview, of the prescription drug open enrollment this year. So the main thing is that we want you to understand, the deadlines for this, so October 17th through December 7th, and understand why people are probably confused, and please refer them to the MAP toll-free number if you aren't already a trained MAP counselor yourself. So that's, anybody have questions on that before I talk about the new Medicare card? Here. Okay. Moving on, and this is probably one of the best things you can do this year. I know you had a link to a flyer for you're getting a new Medicare card. This is from CMS. You can print those off and give them to people. But the important message people need to get is let them know that starting next April, and it will be a gradual rollout of new Medicare cards. So between April of 2018 and April of 2019, everyone with Medicare will get a new Medicare card. And interestingly enough, actually, the first people who are going to get a new Medicare card, so to speak, or a new number, are people who have died, which I couldn't wrap my head around. But actually, they may have died recently, and they may have hospitals or doctors or whoever still doing billing. So they're the first ones to get the cards. People who are brand new to Medicare will get the new numbers right away, and existing people with Medicare will come out in a gradual rollout. The big thing that has changed is the Social Security number's never on there anymore, which is wonderful. They don't have date of birth on there either anymore. They do have when they become eligible for Part A and B and the new number. The first thing you have to remind people is even though this doesn't have their Social Security number anymore, it's still just like a credit card. So they still need to protect it because that new number they're getting is their access to health care. And so we don't want that number to be stolen because the person themselves might end up not being able to get health care. Someone else is using their number. And, of course, we know there are bad people who do illegal billings once they get a number, and then that will make Medicare go broke. So we don't want that. So what you need to tell the clients is that watch for this new card. It will be coming starting next April. If they have moved and did not let Social Security know they have a new mailing address, and this happens quite often because they get deposit from their for their Social Security, and they forget to update their mailing address with Social Security, but they need to do that so the card will come. They have to especially be aware that no one's going to call them about the new Medicare card and ask for personal or private information. Medicare has that information on file, and they will not call people. So those are definitely people trying to steal their identity. And the other thing is, their neighbor may get their card before them, and it's okay. They're going to be coming out gradually next year. So we encourage you to share the flyer or hang it up somewhere, and also to talk to the clients about this, because we really do not want any of them to get scammed by the bad people we know that will be out there, because anytime there's a way they can exploit something happening, they do that. So, any questions on that?
Let me get a minute and unmute everyone. Joe, I did have a question for you. You mentioned earlier that there was a toll-free MAP number. Can you repeat that?
Sure. It's 1-800-803-7174. And that takes people to the closest place where there's a MAP counselor. So it could take them to the Ionia Commission on Aging, the Ludington Senior Center, the Area Agency on Aging in Grand Rapids. Just depending on the client's own phone number, it gets tracked to the closest location.
Okay, awesome. And everyone is unmuted. Did anybody have any other questions for Joe?
Well, if they have any questions, they can probably send them to you, and you can forward them to me,
Yeah, not a problem.
if they think of something later, that would be
Okay.
fine for them.
Yeah, not a problem. Thank you so much, Joe, for all of this wonderful information. I greatly appreciate it, and I know those who are on the call do as well.
Okay,
And
well,
go ahead.
I was trying to say thank you for having me. Oh, there's someone there.
I joined the conference call a few minutes late. Where do we find the flyer that tells our beneficiaries that there's a rollout with the change of the cards? I missed where we would find that.
There was a link on your agenda.
Okay.
And when they sent the agenda, there was a link there.
Yep. I printed the agenda, but I didn't click on the link, so I will go back to that.
Okay, great. Great question. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any other questions for Joe?
Well, thank you all for your time this morning, and feel free to contact us if you have any questions or problems. Let me know.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Okay, so for those of you who joined later in the call that was Joe Murphy, the executive director from MAP. She was just talking about the new 2018 Medicare Part D plans and the Medicare card flyer that was attached in the agenda. And this is Sarah Jackson, the MiCAFE network specialist for Western Michigan. And Lindsay usually does the conference calls, but she had a last minute meeting come up. So she asked if I could do it in her place, and here I am. So we will get started with the next thing on the agenda, which is the home heating credit deadline. For those of you who do the key benefit screenings with our clients, you are aware that the home heating credit filing deadline was September 31st, and the new deadline, or the new home heating credit, I should say, will be available again in January of 2018. So just to keep in mind, when you do the key benefit screening on MySoap, it'll pop up saying that they are potentially eligible for the home heating credit, but in parentheses next to it, it'll say available in January of 2018. Does anybody have any questions before we move on to the next item? Okay, so the next thing that is on the agenda is the state emergency relief. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the state emergency relief, it is funded by the LIHEAP, and we screen for it on the key benefit screening, and we only screen for the heat and utility assistance. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the state emergency relief, crisis season for that is starting November 1st, and it will go through May 31st. So you will probably have a lot of clients contacting you who are getting those past due and shut off letters in the mail. And in the past, those have been covered, and we will update the key benefit screening once we have all of the info from DHHS as to which letters are covered or if both of them are covered. So just keep an eye on that. And also, you can find other resources for state of emergency relief on our MySoap page under the Client Resources tool. Does anybody have any questions about the state emergency relief?
I do. This is Lisa Knott from Bridging Communities.
Okay.
I might have missed it. You might have said it. I probably didn't hear it, but I need clarification on why do clients have to wait until they get a shutoff notice in order to get help with the state of emergency relief?
It just goes to show that they need assistance with paying for that, and it's just one of the requirements that DHHS has to have for it. And it just, like I said, it just shows that they, have tried paying for it in the past, and that they've had, whether it be shortfallings or issues or something of some sort, that shows that they have been unable to pay it.
So do you know if
Nick,
Go ahead, Nick.
in the Lansing office, it's also important to apply even if they are probably going to get denied the state emergency relief, because if they want to go to a different organization, say Salvation Army or something like that, that organization will want to see that they had tried to get help from the state first before assisting the client.
That is correct, Nick. Jody Anderson, Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Policy states that they have to have a shutoff notice. I'm in Lansing, of course, and Board of Water and Light has a shutoff notice. We do have a past due notice with consumers. I believe it is a shutoff notice with DTE. We can only help when it's an emergency status, no different than when somebody has rent to prevent eviction. They have to either have a court-ordered summons or judgment. There are 5 steps to eviction. The state can't intervene until it's an emergency situation. But as Nick said, we encourage them to apply, because even though we may not help, or we may help with a partial amount, then they can take that decision notice and go to other agencies, and then because the other agencies will say, well, why didn't you apply with DHS? So it's important they go to DHS first, the pecking order, and then they can go to other agencies. Caseworkers should be encouraging them either by typing it on the notice of decision or telling them to call 211 to find a list of other providers that may be able to help with the situation.
So once you do the SER and they get denied, and you send them to other places and they're still getting denied, what is the process then? Besides them having a heart attack, because I have several 90-year-old clients that are in this predicament, and that I have recommended to other organizations that I know that have received grants, large grants, and that have turned people down. And it's very frustrating.
I imagine it would be very frustrating. I don't have anything other to tell you that's what we do, is refer to 211, and it all also depends on where we are in the season as far as there are funds. I mean, sometimes we encourage them, if they are a member of a local church, to go that route. The other thing that we would want to know is, does the 90-year-old or the 90-year-olds that you're referring to, are they, one, on the senior plan with any of those utility companies, and 2, say, for example, they have oxygen, and it would not be good if their electricity was shut off. There are forms that they can fill out, and then there is either a doctor fills out part of the form or they send in documentation, and no matter what, those won't be filled out. I know with Board of Water and Light there's a special form. I don't know exactly the protocol with Consumers Energy or DTE.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jody and Nick, and thank you for that question. Anybody else have any questions for Jody when it comes to the state emergency relief? Okay, so we will continue on to the next item on the agenda, which is the DHHS changes to My Bridges. For those of you who have been to trainings recently with your MiCAFE network specialist, you have probably heard us talking about how My Bridges is going to be going through a major update, and they are going to be changing the way that they do things. DHHS will start the statewide trainings for the new My Bridges starting in November. And once we get the information about when those trainings will start, we will definitely share it with you all once it becomes available. So keep an eye on MySoap for that as well. And does anybody have any other questions?
I do. This is Timzetta Dixon from Greenhouse, and I have a question for Jody. With the changes to the My Bridges, one of the complaints that I always receive that eventually may impact a resident's benefits is that interview phone call that they seem to not ever receive that puts their benefits in jeopardy. Is there going to be any changes to the phone interview? Because they may give several clients the same interview time, and so a lot of my residents, may be at their phone at that 9 o'clock time, but they may not get a call till the next day, or they'll get paperwork sent out saying that they missed their phone interview, and there's no way for them to track whether or not that worker actually called them for that phone interview. So is there going to be any changes to that part to make sure that that phone interview is processed?
Well, I don't know, but I would surely hope so. And please keep in mind that it is not the worker's error sometimes on the telephone. I realize on the telephone calls that sometimes they don't make calls, but what you need to understand is, and I think you're talking about the redeterminations, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What happens is Bridges, the software program, schedules the redeterminations, and it's usually done within the first 10 days of the month. So depending on how many redeterminations that you have that month, say you have 25, 30, 40, 50, Bridges, knowing that you can only get them done in X amount of time, will schedule 2, 3, and 4 at the same time at 9 o'clock. So the worker will look and see that Bridges has scheduled 4 at 9 o'clock. The worker will determine what redeterminations are there, attached to the case. If that redetermination is not there, the worker doesn't call. The worker doesn't call usually and say, Mrs. Jones, this is so-and-so. I don't have your redetermination, so I'm not going to be talking to you about the redetermination today. They just don't call at all. So I would hope that would be changed, because that is an issue. We don't schedule them. We have absolutely no control over that, but Bridges will, in order to get X amount in a certain amount of time, double up on those time slots. It is not unusual for a worker to get behind as well. So if you're a 9 o'clock slot and there's 4 people, you may not be called till 10, and then those 10 o'clocks get pushed back, and then you might not call till the next day. And then, of course, if the worker doesn't call, if the redetermination's not there and the worker doesn't call, or the worker tries to get a hold of the client and they're not there, they don't update the system to say that they attended the interview, and then again, that letter goes out that says, hey, you missed your interview, you need to contact your worker because your benefits are going to close. And the other important thing is that I stress, it's really important to get that redetermination back like 5 days before it's due, because when it is faxed in, when it is mailed in, it goes to Central Print, which is Oakland County. They deal with every single redetermination that's mailed or faxed in for all 83 counties, and it can take up to a week to attach. Many of our seniors don't have the capability to get to the local office and drop it off. That should be attached within a day or two, depending on the volume.
So is it better to fax it in, or is it better to just take the applications in on their behalf, or which?
Well, faxing it in is going to go, the fax number is 517-346-9888. That fax number goes out on every piece of correspondence for all 83 counties. So everything gets faxed in there. They do work 24/7. There's 3 shifts because there's a huge amount of verifications, applications, redeterminations that come in. If a client wants to get it in quicker, it would be better if they dropped it off.
Can you repeat
and sometimes
that
they forget because they've changed the Nick and I looked at this not too long ago. They changed the font, the print, where it says, please turn in this redetermination and any verifications by this date. Sometimes, the client has the redetermination thinking that they need that to conduct the interview, and when in fact the worker needs it to go through to ask some questions for the fields that they've indicated there's a change or some other result.
Excuse me, this is Verna Carthane. Can you repeat that fax number for DHSS again?
Yeah. It's 517-346-9888.
Okay, thank you.
But keep in mind that is the fax number for all all the state. Like I said, all 83 counties fax in. It's on correspondence from Wayne County, Genesee, the UP, Ingham County. It's there. So it's faxed in, and it's really important if they're faxing something in. It's not good to put the Social Security number on.
Exactly.
If they know their case number, or if they know their individual ID, which is also their Medicaid number, that would work too. But if they put like their last 4 of their Social Security number, that doesn't work either because we don't really look it up that way. When we code documents internally, we go with the individual ID because that's individual to the person, and then we also put the case number on there. And again, there could be several people in the case, so that's why we use both the individual and the case number. But at least make sure it's legible, or their name, or their address, or something that we can look it up. The last 4 of the Social Security number, we really can't. I can't really look up just a birth date without a name. Our system just isn't set up that way.
My last question, Jody, when a resident gets that letter saying that their redetermination is in jeopardy of closing because they didn't get that phone interview, what can I do as a service coordinator? Some of the things I've done is I tried to reach out to that worker or send them an email letting them know that my client hasn't received that phone interview and if they can call them to reschedule for that phone interview. Beyond that, is there anything else that I can do?
No, I think you're doing everything in your power that you can. When they get that notice of missed interview, it says something like, you recently missed your scheduled interview to apply or redetermine food assistance benefits, because you only have a phone interview for food. You don't have a phone interview for Medicaid. It's only about food. And it says, now it's your responsibility to reschedule the interview, and what they do is they give it the last day of the month. Like the 28th or the 29th, or depending on when it falls, the last calendar day. And then it says to schedule the interview, it says the specialist name and the phone number. And if you are reaching out to the specialist, tell them, okay, my client missed the interview. Mornings are the best. Could you get a hold of them? Could you let me know when you get a hold of them? I mean, I don't know if they will. They have so many. The other thing, too, is the client can call in, and the client can say, okay, Ms. Smith, I'm trying to get a hold of you about my interview, and if they could keep just a note that they called in, because then I know that there's an issue of she called, but she never returned my call. He said, she said kind of thing. So, other than that, calling, emailing, hopefully you don't have to go to the supervisor level and say, hey, we've tried 5 times to get a hold of this worker. The client doesn't want the food benefits to close. Can you please have the worker call the client?
Okay, you said that the phone interview is only required for the food benefits?
Yep, it's never required for Medicaid unless it's a new application. Well, no, that's not even it. I'm sorry. You only need a phone interview, at least a phone interview for food. But you don't need an interview for Medicaid or redetermination for Medicaid, just for food. And we try to do it by phone because that's easiest for the worker. It's usually easiest for the client. But if we can't get a hold of the client, they will sometimes have them come in, send them out a notice to have them come in person, like if it's a new application. Well, I'll find a lot of times, and I'm sure other workers do, that you try to get a hold of the senior client, and it says, oh, you've tried to reach blah, 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 and a voicemail box has not been set up. And I didn't understand why they weren't setting it up. I thought, oh, is it a function of they don't know how to set it up? That could be. But the other reason is, depending on the phone plan they have, there's a cost for that. So they're trying to keep those costs down so they don't set that up. So if we call somebody and we get that message, we have no choice but then to send out a notice saying you need to come into the office.
Okay.
Because we can't call them. Or the worker could do one or two things. Could send out that and say, look, we're scheduling an appointment at this time. We know it's a valid working number. Please be ready there. What I do, since I'm working the cases for all the different counties, is I say that Jay Anderson with a Mara worker with a MiCAFE program will be calling you on October 25th at 9 a.m. You can also reach her, and I list my phone number. It doesn't matter to me. If we make that appointment at that specific time, that's great. And if they call me sooner, that's great too. I just tell them when they get that notice in the mail to disregard because we've handled that appointment right now.
So when we do the applications on MiCAFE, those applications is what you manage as opposed to their assigned caseworker?
Well, I would like to say across the board, yes, but it doesn't always work out that way. Every county has registration people, and as soon as I get the information that I need, that there's been a new application or I've got a T number or something to go on, I am constantly cycling through looking for that. Sometimes it doesn't get registered for a couple of days. It just depends. But if I've got it, then what I do is I email the worker and I CC the supervisor and I say, hey, this application came through the MiCAFE portal. I have access to 10 counties. I'll go ahead and work this for you. 9 times out of 10, I get an email back saying, thank you very much, have at it, just let me know when it's done, blah, 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 something like that. I do get some with the workers that say, nope, I will take care of it, thank you very much. So I can't always guarantee.
Okay, is that just for the new applications or do you work the redeterminations as well?
I will work redeterminations, when they come through MiCAFE.
Okay.
Okay, guys, just to remind you too, when it comes to sending in documentations, whether it be for redetermination or for any other applications that you are doing, you can also fax the documentation to our MiCAFE office for us to attach for the clients as well, instead of sending them to central processing and having to wait for that to get updated. MiCAFE does have a fax number, and I can give that to everybody. It is 517-827-4937. And like I said, you can fax it to us. We check it regularly, daily, and any information or documentation we get, we just ask that you put the client's, especially if it's a new application, but make sure the client's name is on there, as well as their T number, which is the tracking number that you guys get at the end of the applications.
Can you repeat that number?
Yeah, that phone number again is 517-827-4937.
I wasn't going to say anything, Sarah, but thanks for doing that because I didn't know if you wanted everybody to do that. But if you do fax it in to MiCAFE, Kim Hill takes care of all that, and then she sends those to me in an email because workers can't accept them directly, but I've got a fax from her, and then I send those on to Central Print for scanning, but I get those so much quicker than when it goes through Central Print.
And then
Okay,
also
perfect.
to remind everybody too, when you're uploading documents and faxing them to us, make sure you're also faxing us the MiCAFE consent form. We would hate for all of their documentation to get faxed to us and then their MiCAFE consent form getting sent somewhere else and it getting uploaded later, and an issue coming up to where we can't help the client. So just remember how important that MiCAFE consent form is, and that needs, if you're going to fax documents to us, make sure that that gets faxed as well. Okay, so to move on onto the agenda, the next one is the MiCAFE Network Partner Survey. For those of you who receive our MiCAFE monthly newsletter, it goes out at the beginning, towards the beginning of every month. And this month we had on there our MiCAFE Network Partner Survey. We ask for everybody to please participate in this survey. It's also located on the agenda. And the reason we ask is because it helps us become better. So that way we can help you and help your community. It only takes about 5 minutes. And those, like I said, those results help us as a MiCAFE network, you know, become better at whether it be MiCAFE network specialists, whether it be, referrals, policy information, things like that. It just helps us become better communicated with you. And then that way you guys can help your community a little bit better as well. So again, that survey can be found on the agenda, and it can also be found in that monthly newsletter that you all should have received at the beginning of October. And next on the agenda, we have our mysoap.org news section, and that's just a reminder to constantly check the news section on MySoap for updates. We are continuing to update it with new information as we receive it. So just keep in mind to, check it pretty frequently. There is very important material on there for all of our application assistants as well as our partner sites. Does anybody have any questions over any of the updates? Okay, so next we will move on to the MiCAFE Network Specialist updates. And Nick, you can go ahead if you have any updates. Let us know.
So I am working on getting a training set up in the Detroit area. If your site has a location with computer labs that you know of that we could use for training, please let me know. We're always looking for places to hold the training. For those of you on the call from OSHA, emails went out this morning regarding your upcoming training. I also have one set up for Bridging Communities soon. Both of these organizations have a handful of new and returning application assistants, so we were able to arrange something just for their organization. So if you're on the call and you're interested in doing something like that, maybe you have several new staff members joining, reach out to me and let me know, and maybe we can work out something for you as well.
Thanks, Nick, for that update. And for my region, I am also in the process of working out some dates and times for different trainings, and I will let everybody know about that. But also kind of to piggyback off of Nick, if anybody who is on the call in my region has an idea or knows of anywhere that would be a good facility to have a training or to host a training, please let me know. We are always looking for new areas to have trainings at. And also, if you have a lot of new people in your organization that are interested in becoming MiCAFE application assistants, please let me know as well. So that way I can make sure to reach out to them when I get the training scheduled. And then last on the agenda, we have the network partner organization updates, and that's you guys. We are wanting to know if, there's anything going on in your guys' organizations that we need to be aware of. For example, if you guys have any open enrollment events coming up that you would like assistance with, if you have, any senior expos, anything like that, please let us know. Anybody have anything going on? Any senior events, senior expos, senior fairs?
Hello.
Hello?
Hi, this is Lisa Grodsky from OLSA, a community action agency. We do an annual event in February, and it's called the Walk for Warmth. It is a utility assistance fundraiser. I just wanted to give an early shout out for that annual event that our agency has. We do an Oakland walk and a Livingston County walk, but community action agencies across the state of Michigan do these utility assistance walks called Walk for Warmth, and they generate a lot of funding for people who need utility assistance, including seniors. So I just wanted to mention that.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa. Does anybody else have anything going on?
This is Lisa from Bridging Communities. We have an open enrollment scheduled for October 26th from 10 to 2.
You said
For
October
Medicare.
26th from 10 to 2?
Yes.
And is that at Bridging Communities?
Yes, it is. And if they want to schedule an appointment, they just have to call us.
Do they need to ask for you, Lisa, or can they ask for anybody?
Anyone. We have a clipboard on the desk out front, so anyone can sign them up.
Awesome.
I'm sorry, I missed the open enrollment dates. Is that for open enrollment for Medicare? Or
Yes.
what's the open enrollment for?
It's for Medicare.
It's for Medicare, okay. And what was the open enrollment date?
October the 26th.
Okay. And it lasts from, it starts in October to what date?
Oh, this is just one day for Bridging Communities, but open enrollment has already started October the 17th through December the 7th.
Oh, okay.
For
then.
everyone.
For everyone. Okay, and that's for Medicare. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's something maybe I can put on my schedule for December and have an open enrollment here. Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Does anybody else have any events coming up? Open enrollment events, senior fairs, anything like that? Okay. Does anybody else have any other comments before we end the conference call for today?
This is Nick in the
I have
Lansing
one
office.
question. Who do we contact if we want you to come to our site?
If you, that's a really good question, actually. If you are interested in having an open enrollment event and you would like MiCAFE to come and help out with that, please contact your network specialist and they can get something coordinated with you for that.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is Nick in the Lansing office. Just a reminder, if you want to review the conference call today, or if you have a colleague who was unable to make it for some reason, we always upload the recording of the conference call under a toolbox in MySoap, so you can always go back and listen to it later, or if somebody missed it and you want to share that with them, they can use their login information and find that in MySoap.
Thank you for that reminder, Nick. And thank you, everybody, for joining this conference call. I hope that you all learned something and that you all gained information and some knowledge from each other on the phone. Again, if you have any other questions or if you are interested in having your MiCAFE network help with any events that you guys have, just reach out to your network specialist. We are here to assist you. And with that, I thank you all and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.